All right, we are here with Ed and James from the UK. We met him at the Lion's Eye, which is our hotel in Cape Town. Beautiful. But we were just talking to him about the Comrades Marathon and the fact that he does social media marketing for a YouTube channel called the Running Club, right? Running Channel. And anyway, so he was going to give us some of his own history regarding marathons and ultra marathons because he has done many already. But yeah, so what have you done so far, James?
So I've done 36 marathons. I ran one 2 weeks ago in 5 different pairs of shoes. Was the last marathon I did.
Wow.
Yeah, we did a YouTube video which actually will be coming out in a couple of days, talking about like what different shoes are meant for what different kind of workouts or race day. So I thought it'd be a really funny / stupid idea. Running 5 different pairs of shoes. So that was the last race I did. But I've done 36 marathons since 2017 when I started running. I only started running in mid 2016, and I weighed like 130 kilograms. I don't know what it.
260 pounds?
Yeah. So getting into running has been quite an addiction.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been crazy, and now to be on the other side of the planet, about to run one of the most famous ultramarathons in the world is kind of crazy.
Well, I need to pick your brain. We'll get this in film so I can remember it. Take me through your first ultramarathon. You've done 15 total?
Yeah, 15 total. The first one I did, I looked through all the different ultramarathons in the UK, and I picked this one because it had a 24-hour cutoff for a 50-mile race.
Okay.
And I thought, great, it's going to be really like entry-level friendly. There's plenty of time. And what I didn't realize is it was one of the toughest ultramarathons in the UK. So it's in an area called the Lake District, which is crazy mountains. It's completely self-navigated, so no signage at all, and on some like really technical terrain. I basically signed up because I went and did that race because I'd already signed up for Marathon des Sables, which is an ultra marathon in the desert where you carry all your kit for 5 days, food, clothes, sleeping bag, everything. Yeah, everything. And you run in sort of 40-degree heat in the Sahara Desert. So yeah, that was the first ultra I did, and it went really badly, but I kind of knew it was not going to be great.
You got the finish.
Yeah, I got the finish. I finished it in 21 hours. I would have been quicker. Basically, the guy I was running with, I had some stomach issues, so I looked after him. So I was like substantially slower than I had hoped to do. But yeah, so it's a very different ultra marathon compared to Comrades. This as a race feels more like a very long road marathon. This is something that most ultra runners would never experience, of running on the road for this kind of distance, which is why it's such a completely mind shift of how to like think about this race. Because like most ultras you have to carry most of your, like I tend to run with quite a big backpack on with all my food and things you might need, whereas this race is like aid stations the whole way through, but there's the heat, the hills, the road, like the constant pounding on the roads. There's so many different bits to think about that it's such a different. It's almost difficult to compare it to ultramarathons themselves. It's interesting.
We talked earlier about walking up some of the super steep hills. Tell me about your strategy about.
Yeah. So again, like with a road marathon, you would run at a steady pace until either you finish or you can't run that pace anymore.
Exactly.
But with ultramarathons, the general rule of thumb is that you run the flats and the downs and you walk the ups. So you use the uphill to rest and recover and to not use as much energy as you would technically normally use during a flat race or a road race.
Okay.
So yeah, there's pacing groups throughout Comrades, but I will be running my own race in that kind of thing of still when we get to one of the hills, I will walk and probably watch thousands of people overtake me, but I'm going to run my own race and not get carried away, which I sometimes do in races. Which actually the last sort of PB setting race I did was London this year, and I had signed up to months, like a year before, and when I was like, I'm going to train really hard, I'm going to do the fastest marathon time I've ever done, and then I got into the pacing corral and I realized that I'd forgotten about the time I thought I would be able to run at. So I ran at that pace and everything went wrong. So I need to remember to not do that.
Not do marathon
on Sunday. Yeah.
And how about fueling? Like typically for a marathon, I have 5 goos, and that's worked well for me for 26 miles. Now, what's your experience with ultras? With going twice the distance, is it 10 goos? Do I have?
So, like for me, I have similar kind of gel. So it's called Talk. It's got crazy flavors like Goudas, but I'll mix it up with like salted crackers, salted nuts, but still have the gels as well, just to kind of keep some real real food in me. But I'm used to doing that now, so it's not something I would recommend if you've never done it before. Like going into a race and because you'll see it on with other race marathons where they have food you can take on. There'll be a lot of that. There'll be like Coke as well as water and things like that. So it's just I'll know my body is quite good now at being like, okay, I can cope with this, but please don't give me that, because I've done mistakes like that in the past. But like, hopefully, I say this now and then I'll get into race day and all bets will be on. But yeah, I'll mix it up. I've got enough gels to kind of take one at every 5 to 10 kilometers, depending on where I am in the race. Typically, I will do 10k intervals, and then it will go up. So I'll start doing 5k intervals near the end, and my body needs a lot more kind of sugar rush of energy. So
the first 26 miles on the way to Drummond, you have some fuel every 10k.
Yeah, I mean, I will take on some salt tabs, some salt tablets, or if they've got salt-based things on the aid station, I'll take them on. But in terms of the gels, I'll take them on every 10k.
Okay, but then after Drummond, every 5k. So
Start to get more frequent. It's more. Your body obviously needs it, but it's also have a mind game to go, okay, I'm only going to get 3 more K down the road and I can take a gel. Or like, okay, I've taken that one, now I put that in the bin somewhere. And then it's just little things to keep your mind occupied as you go along.
Okay.
There's like a phrase in ultra running that certainly with more extreme races, it's 90% of it is in your head and the other 10% is in your heart. So like, you obviously with these kind of races, you'll train and your body will be fit, but when it gets to crazy, like I said before we started filming, during a marathon, your brain will do this. So you'll have the highs and you have the lows, but when you get to ultra marathon distance, the highs and the lows are a lot more extreme. So it's just giving your mind something to occupy itself when it's down here, because you know that eventually it'll start going back up again. Like when you get to one of the top of the hills, that'll be mentally, you'll be up here as well, because you'll be like, right, I've gone through the uphill struggle mentally and physically, I've got a downhill bit to enjoy. And obviously the steep downhill sections we get to, that'll be, hopefully a place where your mind can relax a bit, your body can too.
Tell me through the downhill. Well, you like Fields Hill, they tell me is like 6k long, a very long downhill. Will you run that whole thing? Or
the hope is I will. Like I say that now, like before because obviously it's quite a long way into the race. But that's the hope is that I do a race in the UK every year, which is called. Well, it says it's the toughest road marathon in the UK. It's the toughest road marathon because the last mile is not on the road, basically. But there's 14k of it is downhill. So you do 3 to 4 miles really steep uphill. It's halfway up one of the biggest mountains in the UK, and then the next bit you kind of run down it. So I feel like my brain will hopefully go into that mode because it has my fastest.
Would you run the whole way down?
Yeah. So I would. My fastest mile I'd ever done at that 3 years ago was during.
During that downhill part.
Just because your body, your body just enjoys it, and I'm like, right, I know I'll suffer later, but I'm gonna take this
now.
And I think it'll be the same during com races. It's like, right, this is near the end. If I go relatively hard and enjoy this, I'm gonna bank time.
Yeah.
Because I think even if I took the downhill more conservatively, I'm still gonna struggle in the last, 5-10 miles. It's gonna be a real struggle. So actually gaining that bit of time by letting your body go into automatic mode. I do. I don't know where the strategy came from, but the song in Frozen called "Let It Go." I do that, but I let my whole body go a bit loose when you're running downhill, just to kind of stop expelling as much energy as possible. It's like a little click reminder. So I try and do that when I'm running downhill. So I'm hoping that downhill will be like a time saver and a bit of a joy boost as well.
I like that. And then so Fields Hill, we come down, and then you get Cowies. Then it's just like, then it's a break.
Yeah. Well, the hope is that I'll be like, great, I've banked all this time, I can enjoy this walk up. Yeah. And it'll be the same of like watching other people. By that time of the race, I think everyone will be more or less walking that hill. So it's going to be, it's. I've done a fair bit of research on this race, but actually I'm going into it not as knowledgeable as I maybe want to be, which I think isn't a bad thing. I'm hoping that it means I won't get the terror of being like, right, I've done this hill, but I know in like 5K I've got another one.
Yeah.
I know we've got the big 5, but there's the little ones in that sneak in and everything else. So
right. About those.
yeah, so it's gonna be an interesting race regardless of what happens. I think even if I pace the perfect race, it'll be interesting because of everything you see. But with ultras, there is always the same with like a marathon. There'll always be something you never predicted that will throw a wrench in any kind of race. So I'm curious to see what that wrench is going to be.
Now you mentioned filming much of the race. Will you be able to talk? Have you done this before?
Yeah. So I've filmed quite a few ultras for our YouTube channel. So I'll have a GoPro on me, and then I'll be mic'd up throughout, which is always hilarious because during an ultra or during a road race, you need to go to the bathroom, but it's recording the whole time. So you have to go like turn the editing off now. I'm going to the toilet. But yeah, I'll have a GoPro with me and loads of batteries, and one of a videographer we've got will be on the route at different points to capture like the atmosphere as well, because that's kind of what we want to show is obviously the history and the weird and wonderful like parts of this race, but also just to capture the excitement and energy behind it. Comrades are people outside of ultra running and road running. It's kind of an unknown legendary race that people don't know that much about, so we're excited to kind of show how it is really approachable and the atmosphere is amazing. So
now with the GoPro, will you hold it out with your hand? How?
Yeah, so we've got a little grip that I'll hold when I'm doing it, but then it will sit in my race pack, so I'll be wearing a little pack.
Okay.
Because I've got to carry like 3 or 4 batteries for the GoPro because it
It's
only
12
records for a certain
hours.
it only records for a certain amount of time, and then the microphone setting should last for 12 hours, but I have to carry a little battery for that as well, just in case.
So you might just
Wow.
be you're
So
carrying
you have
the
extra
other thing to hold it. You know?
Yeah.
You try and hold it up and talk
So
a
yeah,
little bit.
just try and talk like that. I mean, I've done races where I'm trying to go really fast as well.
Yeah.
So doing that is so hard when you're going to go fast. So actually, an ultra race is quite good for that because you're like, right, I need to take a break. I need to film a bit.
Yes.
I need to like put it away. So again, it's this mental thing of like, I haven't filmed in 5K. I should get the camera out and say how I'm feeling. So there are little things again that my brain needs to kind of think about. But also, the video is going to be 15 minutes maximum.
Okay.
So it's also been like, okay, I shouldn't film now.
That part.
But this part is going to be boring. Like no one wants to know about when everything's going right. They want to know when everything's going awfully. So it's the constant things to think about again, which I really enjoy when filming races. So.
Will you record Show Saloza? Do you know the words to Show Saloza?
Yeah, I know a little bit just from being a rugby fan. And so like the start line of Comrades is arguably more legendary than the race itself. Sometimes you see on social media when you type in Comrades, more often than not, it'll be people showing
You see
you the
Peter
start
Marisburg and the start.
Yeah,
People lined up in the spotlight.
So it's gonna be amazing.
Very good.
Now, do you have a change of clothes, change of shoes, and
For the,
how are you
for the
handling?
race?
Yeah.
No, I'll stick with what I'm wearing
Okay.
when I start. So I've done a fair amount of mileage in the shoe I'm going to run in, and the kit I wear, a lot of it I've worn for years now, so I know I can rely on it. But I'll carry. I have like a buff, so like a wrist thing for sweat. I'll have a couple of those. One on my wrist, and then usually either one on my head just to give a bit of shade, or I'll carry them in my pack. It's just like emergency things. So when it gets really hot, you just pour water on it, and it's your receptors in your brain. If you're cold here, you think you're cooler. So it's a nice, easy way of cooling yourself down. If you feel like you're really burning up, I tend to do that.
That's a good piece of advice.
Yeah.
And also they work very well if you need to go to the toilet and you don't have any toilet paper. It's the emergency toilet roll. So yeah, that's one like race tip I've always tell people is, especially for ultras, because this is a different race at the road, but like in ultras in the mountains or the deserts, there's nowhere to go to the toilet. So having something there for emergencies is always helpful. And like I've had friends get serious injuries, so they work quite well as strapping and tourniquets. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Good piece of advice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. This is episode 1 of Ed's Ultra Marathon channel. All right. Good luck
Thank you.
to both of you.
Yeah, thanks.